Um, I call my main folder as your student ID, name, and practice bank portfolio 2011. Then inside the main folder, I created 6 folders: one for Unit 5, one for Unit 6, one for Unit 7, and one for Unit 8. So it has to be with your student ID, your initials, and the unit. These two, you've done observations with your mentor and tutor. So the mentor observations you put inside this folder, and the tutor observations, that means the ones you've done with chain, you had to put inside this folder. So if I go to the tutor observation, Jane done observation 2 and observation 4 with me, so I created 2 folders. And in my mentor observation, my mentor done my first observation and the third observations, so I created my folders. So it has to be with your student ID, initials, and your mentor observation, the observation number. So if you go inside this folder, how I rename the file, whatever the materials, I put as my student number, my initials, mentor observation 1 A, mentor observation 1 B, mentor observation 1 C, and the lesson plan I put as mentor observation 1 lesson plan, mentor observation 1 scheme of work. The observation feedback report I just put as my student ID, my initials, and mentor observation 1. So if I go back, if I go to my mentor observation 3, I put the same way. My materials, I put mentor observation 3 A, B, and C. This is my feedback sheet, and this is my lesson plan and the scheme of work. I did the same for the tutor observation. Tutor observation 2A, tutor observation 2B, like that. So if I go to Unit 5, right, my Unit 5A is Bloom's taxonomy. So I put as my student ID, initials, 5A, BT. 5B is learning theory, so I put my student ID, my initials, 5B, and learning theories. The LT represents learning theories. So 5C is student ID, initials, 5C, and PUM. So inside 5A, normally you need to rename your assignment front sheet as your student ID, initials, 5A, Bloom's taxonomies, AFP, A. If it's your feedback sheet, again you can rename this one as student ID, initials, 5A, BT, AFP, B. So always you're going to name your front sheet as AFPA. Always you're going to rename your feedback sheet as AFPB. If I go back to LT, I rename the same way. The other materials you can just rename it as your file name, initial, 5B, learning theories, A, B, C, D, likewise. So any lessons plans or group profiles or any materials you think is appropriate. If I go back, that's my Unit 5. In my Unit 6, The 6A is practical tutoring. So I put my student ID, initials, 6A, PT, practical tutoring. 6B is my effective communication, so I put EC, and my 6C is PDP, so I put PDP. So if I go back to my unit 7, we have only two assignments. One is 7A, which is a course design, so CD, and 7B is course evaluation, CE. So if I go to course evaluation, I'll rename my front sheet as my student ID, initial, 7B, course evaluations, AFBB, and my feedback as AFBA. Likewise, in my unit 8, my 8A is action and research, so I put AR. My 8B is professional values in conduct, so it's PVC. Okay, and also what you can do is you can create a new folder with your initials and call it as other. And if you think if you need to put anything else, you can put it over here. I hope this will helpful.